Good evening and welcome to the City of Helena Administrative Meeting. This meeting is called to order. Welcome and thank you for participating in the City of Helena's City Commission Administrative Meeting. We are pleased to be able to provide this alternative meeting format in the city's effort to broaden public participation. Please be patient as we may experience technical difficulties during the meeting. We welcome your public commentary. Please read the following tips and guidelines for the app usage and your participation. Madam Clerk, would you take the roll, please?
Acting City Attorney Coate.
Here.
Acting City Manager Joden.
Here.
Commissioner Dean.
Here.
Commissioner Fever.
Here.
Commissioner Reed. Actually, I apologize, Mr. Mayor. I did receive word that Commissioner Reed was going to be a few minutes late.
Okay.
Commissioner Logan.
Here.
Mayor Collins.
Here. Comments or questions from the commission?
I'll say that.
Okay. Recommendations from Helena Citizens Council. Mr. Harris.
Good afternoon. I do not have any recommendations to bring to you today from the Helena Citizens Council. I'm here to just observe and be able to report back at tonight's meeting.
Thank you. City Manager's report, CARES Act reimbursement, general fund savings, spending summary. Director Danielson, Project Coordinator OPIDS, Public Information Officer Garson, and Acting City Manager Jordan.
Thanks, Mayor Collins. Amanda is going to give you a brief presentation update on our CARES funding and the projects that have been funded by that. Amanda?
Thank you, Acting Manager Joden. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. All right. So this afternoon I have just a very basic CARES Act reimbursement general fund savings summary for you. I probably overloaded you a bit in terms of the attachments for today, so I'm not going to go into full detail, but we'll walk through kind of the summary of where we are to date. So in calendar year 2020, the Coronavirus Relief and Economic Security Act, what we call the CARES Act, set aside funds to states for the purpose of covering expenses related to the COVID-19 pandemic. The City of Helena received, City of Helena received $5.3 million from that funding from the state. And of that 5.3 million, 4.7 was allotted to things that we had already put in our budget. And so that caused an opportunity for additional spending due to savings in the general fund. Sorry, this is not wanting to move forward. There we go. The costs that were associated for reimbursement, so the eligible costs, included personnel and equipment. Largely the savings that we received, that 4.7, was related to personnel expenses that were already in our budget. But additionally, there was equipment that we were able to be reimbursed for that were directly related to trying to mitigate the spread of the virus. So closure signage, putting up different plexiglass at our service windows, things like that. The process that we went through in terms of trying to determine how to use these savings in fall of 2020, this was just after Manager Harlow Schulk had joined our team. She brought forward several different options that had been generated by the staff, different projects that had either been on the docket for a long time or sort of back burner type projects. things that we were hoping to do in the future. Those items were discussed, as were other commission alternatives, including adding funds to the housing trust, among others. At that time, the manager requested that the commission wait to encumber any of those funds until you had gone through your strategic planning session. So the process went on through the fall, and then into the spring, the commission held the strategic planning sessions. Staff put out, in addition to the strategic planning sessions and the regular commission meetings that where this was discussed, we also had a balancing act simulation that was put out to the public and garnered public input through that process. The final list of items then were brought forward through the general fund or the general fund savings, which were incorporated in the FY21 appropriations and adopted alongside the FY22 budget. You can see a full list of the approved projects that came through the budget process here on this slide: irrigation wells, a contribution to the Housing Trust Fund, an allotment to MBAC for business assistance loans, downtown redevelopment agency funding, citywide ERP software upgrade, fire services study, the Law and Justice Center office build out, police mobile data computer docs, fire department forcible entry props, walking mall outdoor improvements, the new Rodney Street lighting, some improvements and enhancements at the 5-point intersection at Last Chance, another set of funds set aside for community grants that were gifted to the Helena Area Community Foundation, the Centennial Trail and Benton pavement improvements, and a photovoltaic project for a designated city facility. In your packet, you should have received a full summary of where each one of those projects have landed in terms of expenditures. But if we have additional questions related to each one of those, we do have department staff on who can potentially address those. My understanding, though, is that part of the request to have this update was to gather information related to the two allotments of funding that were given to outside agencies and the status on where those are at. So we had $402,000 that was given to the Helena Area Community Foundation, and that check was drawn down in December. With that, they've created a City of Helena COVID recovery funds program. You should have received also in your packet an announcement for that program. So they have just launched it, and applications are open from the 10th of this month through April 7th. And the structure of that program is that there are $2,000 to $14,000 available grants with a 1-to-1 match. So those are just in the starting stages. And then the other set of funds that went external to the city went to MBAC. The MBAC program had two different options for how they structured their loans. There was a partial loan, partial grant program, and then just straight grants. So you can see from the presentation slide that the partial grant, partial loan program was 80% loan, 20% grant, and the funding was available from $25,000 to $75,000. And the grant fund was $5,000 to $15,000 grants. Those opened up, I believe, in December. And initially there were 18 applications received and 7 awarded. Let's see, I can go into specifics related to the numbers if that's helpful. I think that information is also in your packet. So perhaps at this point, I'll open it up for questions if you have any.
Thank you, Project Coordinator Opus. Comments or questions from the commission? I see two hands up immediately. Commissioner Dane.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Amanda, thanks for this really excellent presentation. I was wondering, do you know what the process will look like, or if there is a process for kind of the results of the MBAC and Helena Area Community Foundation disbursements, and if we'll get an update, like say in 6 months or a year, as to how they were used and maybe their impact?
Yes, Commissioner Dean, Mayor Collins, we do have built into our memorandums of understanding with each one of those organizations for periodic updates. I can't remember right off the top of my head when those dates are. I believe it's annually, if not expended before, then. So at this point, this is where we're at for the Helena Area Community Foundation. They've just launched their grant process. The MBAC program has spent down a good chunk of their funds. I don't have the number right in front of me, I apologize. But that will remain open until those funds are fully expended. So you can expect another update as soon as that happens.
Okay, thanks. And now that you say MOU, I remember, I know, I think I have it in my inbox. So I'm sorry for repeating that. When I will be sure to go back and look at those because I remember you sending them. Mr. Mayor, if I could just ask one more question, and I'm going to guess this is for Acting City Manager Thomas Joden. But I'm wondering if we can maybe get an update sometime, in the next while as to where the projects stand for the photovoltaic project and any of it. I know there was discussion of where solar panels could go to for some of the money we previously budgeted, and that the facilities that we were considering, I think it was the shop at the time, was not going to be suitable. And so if we could maybe just get an update on some of those projects, that would be awesome.
You bet, Commissioner.
Okay, Commissioner Logan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Amanda, for the presentation. One question that I have relative to the two funds, the Helena Area Community Foundation and the MBAC, where would the public go to find out about those two funds and how to avail themselves of them?
I believe that both Commissioner Logan, Mayor Collins, I believe that both organizations have done a pretty extensive job in terms of public outreach that has been included with the MOU for both of them, that part of their administrative fee that they assessed for taking on the grant disbursements, that's included. That said, I think both organizations have mentions on their websites to be able to access those funds. But we can follow up with more specifics if that's helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, Amanda. Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the commission? I see none. Okay, City Clerk update.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. As you can see on tonight's agenda, we have some more of the mayor's board application review recommendations. So for this evening, we have the Golf Advisory Board and the TBID, or Tourism Business Improvement District, for your consideration or discussion. If approved to move on in the process, then those applications would then be up for a formal approval and roll call vote on Monday night. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time. Otherwise, I'd ask for your consensus to move those applications forward.
I don't have any objections to that, Madam Clerk.
I also would have no objections to that.
Sounds fine to me. Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question?
Go
Yes,
ahead.
Commissioner Dean.
On the TBID appointment, do we know which business they're an owner or manager of? I'm just curious.
They are a manager of, that's a great question, Commissioner Dean, Mr. Mayor. They are general manager at La Quinta
Hotel.
Inn and Suites.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, finally.
Then, do we have any public comments on this topic? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, at this time, I have no hands raised and I have no written public comment on any of the items so far.
Thank you. Department direction, feedback? Do we have any comments from the departments?
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Review of agenda for the next commission meeting, draft proposed future commission administrative meeting agenda, interim manager.
Yeah, just real briefly, Commissioners, as you know, we have this ongoing running list of potential items that staff and the commission are looking to bring forward to the commission. And I guess if the commission has any questions or comments about what's upcoming in the next little bit, staff can certainly do their best to try to answer those.
Comments
Mr.
from the
Mayor.
commission?
Yep, Mr. Mayor, if
Commissioner
I might.
Reed.
Thank
Commissioner-
you. I'm not sure, Acting Manager Joden, if this is a comment or question on what is there, or if this is the best time to propose something new, to get some consensus to put something on an agenda when it is timely. But I would like to see if there is consensus from the commission to begin discussions about moving towards an RFP for the Housing Trust Fund and beginning discussions about how to prioritize use of those funds and moving forward on housing projects in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Fever? You are muted. Oh, go
Am
ahead.
I all right now? I hope.
Yes, you are.
Thank you, Mayor Collins, and thank you, Commissioner Reed. I support that. The last commission or the previous commission adopted the Helena Trust Fund, and it was an excellent move on their part. Two of those commissioners and the mayor are still a part of that decision-making. And I think we just have to move faster. And I don't know, exactly how fast we can move, but I know that we asked for at least 3 parties to the Lutheran Redeemer property to come visit with us, and I hope that's going to happen pretty soon. That's the YMCA, RMDC, and Habitat Humanity. And I would assume the Helena Housing Affordable Trust Fund would have something to do with that project. But there's a lot of other projects that I'd be interested in that maybe we can talk about as we move forward. I just worry that somehow or another, the trust fund is sitting there. We may even be adding more dollars to it here soon. And yet it doesn't appear that I understand exactly what our agenda is. Now, I know that we've established a council, a commission to advise us on how that might be best expended. I hope that group is getting together pretty quick and that they are ready to deal with the issues and perhaps advise this commission. But I think, Commissioner Reed, if it isn't your intent, it certainly would be mine, but I bet we share it. We need to move as rapidly as we possibly can. And this would be one of the best items possible for this commission and this city to consider how we can put that affordable trust fund into action. As I understand, we now have about $2 million, maybe a little bit more. And I'm sure that there are folks here who could tell me exactly what that dollar amount is right now. But it ought to be at least something to incentivize action and to broker maybe further action down the road, but we need to get moving. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do we have any other comments?
Can I ask a clarifying question, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Commissioner Dean.
So I know when we adopted the resolution that outlined the body that will evaluate requests. It's, from my understanding, it's driven by requests from outside organizations. Commissioner Reed, are you suggesting that instead of approving requests, we are instead asking for requests?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioner Dean. I think, thank you for clarifying my not super clarified thoughts. I think I would like to put on the agenda in a timely manner, a discussion about process, because some of us are new. And I think if we could all get on the same page about what is our process and what might a timeline look like for beginning to move forward, I think that would be a timely discussion, because I think there is a committee forming, but I'm not clear on what their timeline looks like. So I would like to get consensus to put it on an agenda in order to get us on the same page and begin moving forward with whatever process is the one that we are in agreement on. Thank you.
Yeah, that's super helpful. And I'd be more than open to that discussion. And I think, we haven't gotten any requests yet. So I think I will be anxious to see what that looks like moving forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Fever.
I just want to concur with what Commissioner Reed said and Commissioner Dean as well. We just need to move forward, and we can do that. And now is the time.
Any other comments or questions from the commission?
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Logan.
thank you. I appreciate Commissioner Reed bringing this forward and look forward to seeing it on a future agenda.
Thank you. Mr. Acting Manager Jordan, I think you have consensus to put that on an agenda. Would you please?
Yep, we'll package up an item, as I understand it, for basically, I think maybe a little bit of education about how the trust fund works, an update on the operating policies, and how we can start moving forward with using some of that money for eligible projects.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone from the public wishes to address the commission? Madam Clerk, would you search for any raised hands comments?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I see no hands raised at this time, and I have received no written public comment on any item.
Okay, Mr. Acting City Manager, do you have anything else you want to add? Do you have your directions from this meeting?
I do, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you.
Any final comments from the commission? At this time, just before we adjourn, we will adjourn, but we will be coming back at 6 o'clock for our special meeting. And so if nothing else, this meeting is adjourned, and I'll see you at 6.